Hello, I'm going to read Haripotter Chapter 5 diagonally. Let's start! Chapter 5 Diagonally. Harry woke early the next morning. Although he could tell it was daylight, he kept his eyes shut tight. It was a dream, he told himself firmly. I dreamed a giant called Hagrid came to tell me I was going to a school for wizards. When I open my eyes, I'll be at home in my cupboard. There's suddenly a loud tapping noise. And there's Aunt Petunia knocking on the door, Harry thought, his heart sinking, but he still didn't open his eyes. It had been such a good dream. Tap, tap, tap. All right, Harry mumbled. I'm getting up. He sat up, and Hagrid's heavy coat fell off him. The hut was full of sunlight. The storm was over. Hagrid himself was asleep in the collapsed sofa, and there's an owl wrapping his claw on the window. A newspaper held at his beak. Harry scrambled to his feet. So happy he felt that a large balloon was swelling inside him. He was surged to the window and jerked it open. The owl swooped in and dropped the roseberry on top of Hagrid, who didn't wake up. The owl then fell under the floor and began to attack Hagrid's coat. Don't do that! Harry tried to wave the owl out of the way, but it snapped its beak fiercely at him and carried on, savaging the coat. Hagrid! Said Harry loudly. There's an owl! Pay him, Hagrid grunted into the sofa. What? He wants Fang for deliver the paper. Look in the pockets. Hagrid's coats seemed to be made of nothing but pockets. Bunches of keys, slug pellets, bowls of string, minton box, tea bags. Finally, Harry pulled out a handful of strange-looking coins. Give him 5 knuts, said Hagrid sleepily. Knuts? The little bronze ones. Harry counted like 5 little bronze coins, and the owl had out his leg so he could put his money in the small leather pouch to it, and flew off in the open window. Hagrid yawned loudly, sat up and stretched. Oh, best be up, Harry. Lots to do today. Gotta get up in London and buy your stuff for school. Harry was turning over the wizard coins and looking at them. He had just thought of something which made him feel as though the happy villain inside him had got a puncture. Hagrid? Said Hagrid, wholly pulling on his huge boots. I haven't got any money. And you heard Uncle Vernon last night. He won't pay for me to learn magic. Don't worry about that, said Hagrid, standing up and scratching his head. Do you think your parrot didn't leave you anything? But if the house was destroyed, he didn't keep the gold in the house, boy. Nah, first up for us is Gringotts, Wizard's Bank. Have a sausage, they're a bad cold. I wouldn't say good baking a birthday cake either. Wizards have banks? Just one, Gringotts, run by goblins. Harry dropped the bit of sausage he was holding. Goblins? Yeah, so he'd been mad to throw and love it until he left. Never visit goblins, Harry. Gringotts is the safest place in the world to anything we make the cave safe. Except maybe Hogwarts. If anything, in fact, it got away to Gringotts anyway. For Dumbledore, Hogwarts business. Hagrid drew himself up proudly. He used to get something important stuff for him. Fetching you, getting things to Gringotts, knows if he could trust me, see? Got him everything? Come on then. Harry followed Hagrid onto the walk. The sky was quite clear now, and the ski blew in the sunlight. The boat Uncle Vernon had hired was still there, the water in the bottom of the storm. How did you get here? Harry asked, looking around for another boat. Flew, said Hagrid. Flew? Yeah, but we'll go into this. Not supposed to magic I could get here. They settled down in the boat. Harry still staring at Hagrid, trying to be magic fine. Seems a shame to row, though, said Hagrid, giving Harry another sideways look. If I was to speed things up a bit, would you mind not mention it, Hogwarts? Of course not, said Harry, eager to see more magic. Hagrid pulled out the pink umbrella again, tapped it twice on the side of the boat, and then stared up towards land. What would you do mad to throw rope ringots? Harry asked. Spells, enchantments, said Hagrid, unfolding his newspaper as spoke. They say there's dragon guarding the high security boats. Now they get to find their way. It is hundreds of miles under London Sea, deep under the underground. That die hunger to try to get out, and manage to get a somewhere. Harry sat and thought about this while Hagrid read his newspaper, the Daily Prophet. Uncle Vernon, the people like to be left alone when the guy did this, but it was very difficult. He never had so many questions in his life. Ministry of Magic message as usual, Harry muttered, turning the page. Does it matter some magic? Harry asked before he could stop himself. Of course, said Hagrid. With Dumbledore's a minister, of course, but he didn't need Hogwarts, so all could fudge to get the job. Bunker was one, so he pelted Dumbledore with owls and every morning asking for advice. What does the ministry do? Well, their main job is to keep from the muggles, that they're still witches and wizards of the country. Why? Why? Blimey, Harry! Everyone to give a magic solution to their problems. Now, we're best left alone. And this woman bumped gently into the harbor wall. Hagrid folded up his newspaper and clambered up to the stone steps of the tree. Just to buy a lot of Hagrid's a little town to the station. Harry couldn't blame them. Not only was Hagrid would try to stall anyone else. He kept pointing and perfectly ordering things like parking meters and saying, "See that, Harry? He says what muggles dream of, yeah?" Hagrid, said Harry, punting a bit of his rent to keep up. Did you say there are dragons in Gringotts? Well, so they say, cried Jan like a dragon. You like one? Only one of us since I was kid. Here we go. They had reached the station. There was a train to London in 5 minutes' time. Hagrid, who didn't understand muggle money as he called it, gave the notes to Harry so he could buy the tickets. People stared more than ever on the train. Hagrid took up 2 seats and sat knitting what looked like a canary yellow skirts hat. Still get your letter, Harry? Asked his teachers. Harry took a parchment envelope out of his pocket. Good, he said Hagrid. There's a list there, everything you need. Harry unfolded the second piece of paper he hadn't noticed the backlight before, and read, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Uniform. First year students will require 1. 3 sets of plain work robes, black. 2. 1 plain pointed hat, black, for day wear. 3. 1 pair of protective gloves, dragon hide or similar. 4. 1 winter cloak, black, silver fastenings. Please note that all pupils close to carry name tags. Set books. All students should have a copy of which of the following: The Standard Book of Spells, Grade 1, by the Brenda Goslock. History of Magic, by Matilda Beckett. Magical Theory, by Elvis Ruffling. The Beginner's Guide to Transformation, Emnevit Stritch. 1000 Magical Horrors and Hunger, by Phyllis Boyle. Magical Drugs and Potions, by Arsenius Ziga. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, by Newt Scamander. The Dark Forces, The Guide to Self-Protection, by Quentin Trimble. Other recruitment: 1 wand, 1 cauldron, Puta standard size 2, 1 set glass of crystal vials, 1 telescope, 1 set brass dolls. Students may also bring an owl or a cat or a toad. Parents are reminded that first years are not allowed broomsticks. Can we buy all this in London? Harry wondered aloud. If you know where to go, said Hagrid. Harry had never been to London before. Although Hagrid seemed to know he was going, he was obviously not used to getting there in an ordinary way. He got stuck in the ticket barrier on the underground and complained loudly that the seats were too small and the train slow. I don't know how the muggles manage without magic, as he could an escalator with a bustling road lined with shops. Hagrid was so huge that he parted the crowd easily. All Harry had to do was keep close behind him. Stay past bookshops and music stores, hamburger bars, and cinemas, but nowhere did Lucas could sell you a magic wand. This was just an ordinary street full of ordinary people. Could there really be a piles of wizards' gold buried miles beneath them? Will there really shops that sell spell books and broomsticks? Might this not always some huge joke that the Dursleys had cooked up? If Harry hadn't known that Dursleys had no sense of humor, he might have thought so. But somehow, even though everything Hagrid had told me so far is unbelievable, Harry couldn't help trusting. This is it, said Hagrid, coming to a halt. The Leaky Cauldron. There is a famous phrase. It was a tiny, grumpy-looking pot. The Hagrid pointed out. Hagrid wouldn't notice it was there. The people hurrying by didn't glance at it. Their eyes slid from the big bookshop on the one side to Reco shop on the other, as they couldn't see the Leaky Cauldron at all. In fact, Harry had the most peculiar feeling that only he and Hagrid could see it. Before he could mention this, Hagrid had steered him aside. For a famous place, it was very dark and shabby. A few old women were sitting on the corner, drinking tiny glasses of sherry. One of them was smoking a long pipe. A little man in the top hat was talking to the old barman, quite bald and looked like a gummy walnut. Rosebud of Chatter stopped when he walked in. Everyone seemed to know Hagrid. They waved and smiled at him, and the barman reached for a glass, saying, "The usual Hagrid?" "Can't come. I'm a Hogwarts business," said Hagrid, clapping in his right hand on Henry's shoulder and making Harry's nails sparkle. "Good Lord," said the barman, peering at Harry. Can this be? The Leaky Cauldron had suddenly got completely still and silent. "Bless my soul," whispered the old Colonel. "Harry Potter, what an honor!" He hurried up behind the bar, rushed toward Harry, and seized his hand, tears in his eyes. "Welcome back, Mr. Potter. Welcome back." Harry didn't know what to say. Everyone was looking at him. The old woman with the pipe was poking at it without it gone out. Hagrid was beaming. Then there was a great scraping of the chairs, and the next moment Harry found himself shaking hands with everyone in the leaky cauldron. Doris Crawford, Mr. Cooper, camping and meeting you at last. So proud, Mr. Potter. I'm just so proud. Always like to shake your hand all the brother. That is just kind of tell him. Think something? My name is Biggle. I've seen you before, said Harry. It's a Diggles pop and with excitement. You bowed to me once in a shop. He remembers, he diggles, looking at everyone. Did you hear that? He remembers me. He shook hands again and again. There's Cooper coming back for more. A pale young man made the race forward very nervously. One of his eyes was twitching. Professor Quirrell, said Hagrid. Harry, Professor Quirrell will be one of our teachers at Hogwarts. Potter, stammered Professor Quirrell, grasping Harry's hand. Tell you where the place. I'll bet you. The Mercy Tis, Professor Quirrell. The defense of the dark arts, mutters Professor Quirrell. I'll think about it. Not that you, Potter. He laughed nervously. You should be getting your own equipment, I suppose. I've got to pick up the new book on vampires myself. He looked terrified at the very thought. But the others wouldn't let Professor Quirrell keep Harry to himself. It was almost 10 minutes to get a phone with them. Had certainly managed to make up sorry over the battle. Must get on, not survive. Come on, Harry. Doris Crawford shook Harry's hand one last time, and Hagrid led them through the wall and walked into the small walled courtyard. They were gasping, but if you read, Hagrid grinned at Harry. Told you, did I? Told you it was famous. Even Professor Quirrell was trembling to meet you. Although he is really trembling. Is he always that nervous? Oh, yeah. Really mind. He was fine where he was turning the books, but anything a year off is his first experience. They say he met vampires in the Black Forest, and there's a nasty bit of trouble with Hag. Never been the same since. Scared of the students, scared of his own subject. Now, where is the umbrella? Vampires, hags. Harry's head was swimming. Hagrid, meanwhile, was counting bricks on the wall about the trash can. 3 up, 2 across, he muttered. Right, stand back, Harry. He tapped the word 3 times on the point of his umbrella. The brick he had tucked quivered. It wriggled in the middle. A small hole appeared. It grew wider and wider. A second later, they were facing an archway large enough to even for Hagrid, an archway onto a cobbled street with trees and torn out of sight. Welcome, said Hagrid, to Diagon Alley. He grinned at Harry's amazement. As they stepped through the archway, Harry looked quickly over his shoulder and saw the archway screwing right back into a solid wall. The sun shined brightly, and you could go crawling into the nearest shop. Cauldrons, all sizes, copper, brass, pewter, silver, silvery, collapsible, said a sign hanging over them. Yeah, you've been needing one, said Hagrid, but you get your money first. Harry wished had about 8 more eyes. He turned his eyes in every direction and walked the street, trying to look at everything at once, but stopped to seeing the sudden people doing their shopping. Plump woman outside in the perfect way was shaking her head as he passed, saying, Dragon liver, 17 seconds less than that. A low, soft footing came through a dark shop with a sign saying, I loves owl in Korean. Thorny, screeched bar, brown and snowy. Several boys about Harry's age had the noses pressed against the window with broomsticks in it. Look, Harry heard one of them say, the new number's 2000, first ever. There are shops selling roofs, shops selling telescopes and strange have ever seen before. Windows stacked with burrows and backsleys and eel's eyes, tottering piles of spell books, quills and rolls of parchments, potion bottles and globes of the moon. Gringotts, said Hagrid. They have rich, snowy white flirting that towered over the other riddle shops. Standing beside it, burnished bronze doors, was a unicorn of scarlet and gold, was... Yeah, that's a goblin, said Hagrid quietly, as they looked at the quiet stones toward him. The goblin was about head shorter than Harry. He had a swarthy, clever face, a pointed beard, and Harry noticed very long fingers and feet. He bowed at his walk inside. Now they were facing a second pair of doors, silver this time, with words engraved upon them. Enter, stranger, but take heed, whatever raise the sin of greed. For those who take but do not earn must pay most dearly in their turn. So if you seek beneath our floors, the treasure will never yours. Thief, you have been warned. Beware of finding more than treasure there. Like I said, you've been mad to try to rob it, said Hagrid. A pair of goblins bowed them through the silver doors, and there's a vast marble hall. The 100 more goblins were sitting on high stools behind the long counter, scribbling in large ledgers. The rain crowing and glass still examining precious jewels and eyeglasses. There is too many doors to count, leading a multiple. Yet more goblins was showing people in and out of these. Hagrid and Harry made for the counter. Morning, said Hagrid to the free goblin. We come to take some money out of Harry Potter's safe. You have his keys, Harry? Got it here somewhere, said Harry. Emptying his pockets to the counter, scattering a handful of moldy dog biscuits of the Douglas Book of Numbers. The gobbler wrinkled his nose. Harry was enduring the life, bringing a pile of rubies as big as glowing coals. Got it, said Hagrid at last, holding up the tiny golden key. The goblin looked at it closely. That seemed to be older, and they've also gotten a letter from Professor Dumbledore, said Hagrid importantly, throwing out his chest. It's about the you-know-what involves 713. A goblin read the letter carefully. Very well, he said, handing it back to Hagrid. I'll have someone take over the photo. Rifthook was another goblin. Once Hagrid had crammed all the dog biscuits back into his pocket, he and Harry followed Rifthook toward one of the doors leading up the hall. What's the you-know-what involves 713? said Harry asked. Can't tell you that, said Hagrid mysteriously. Very secret. Hogwarts business. Dumbledore trusted me. More my job's worth today, huh? Rifthook held the door open for them. Harry, who had expected more movement, was surprised. They were in the narrow stone passageway lit with flaming torches. It sloped steeply downward, and little railway tracks on the floor. Rifthook whistled, and small cars came hurtling up the track towards them. They climbed in, Hagrid with some difficulty, and blew off. At first, the hurtled through a maze of twisting passages. Harry trying to remember left, right, left, middle, forward, right, left, but it was impossible. The dragging cart seemed to whistle all way because papers wasn't sharing. Harry's eyes were stunned as cold air washed past them, but he kept them wide open. Once, he thought he saw a burst of fire that entered the passage and twisted around as she was drawn. Too late, they plunged even deeper, passing underground lake, where huge stalactites and stalagmites grew from the ceiling and the floor. I never know, Harry called to Hagrid over the noise of the cart. What's the difference from a stalagmite or a stalactite? Stalagmites go to emanate, said Hagrid, and don't ask me questions about. I think I'm gonna be sick. He did look very green, and the cart stopped at last beside a small door in the passage wall. Hagrid got out and leaned against the wall and stuck his knees trembling. Griphook unlocked the door. A lot of green smoke came blowing out, and as it cleared, Harry gasped. Inside were mounds of golden coins, columns of silver, heaps of little bronze nuts. All yours, smiled Hagrid.